Welcome to another episode of the Fanzone podcast. Your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast.
Good evening and Merry Christmas to all. Tonight you're joined, of course, by myself and Ben for the preview show. Tonight we're also joined by Steve from New York Talk. We're going to obviously dissect this Boxing Day's fixture against Rotherham United. In the chat, of course, as ever, very much appreciate all of you who've joined us so far. Good evening to Ian, Jordan, Leslie. You're all superstars. Of course, you'll see tonight me and Ben are rocking our Christmas jumpers. I think Ben's just about a Christmas jumper. Is that?
It's got snowman on it. Of course, it's a Christmas jumper.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. So, Steve didn't get the memo, but we're all right because he's a guest, so that's absolutely fine.
The only one I've got says you're getting note on the front of it with a picture of Santa on it, so that would have been appropriate, wouldn't it?
Well, would that be relating to our chances on Saturday or your chances, Steve?
No, that's relating to money.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I don't know about the weekend. I'll have to change your mind later on.
Yeah, what would be good for all the Bolton fans listening, of which there's 20 people so far listening live, to get a little bit more of an understanding of Rotherham United's season so far. Of course, we'll delve into that straight away and get the ball rolling. So before we went live, we mentioned Rotherham's most recent game. I've got the table up on the right-hand side in front of me. That was at home loss 3-1 to Huddersfield Town. Steve described it as one of the worst performances he's seen in a very long time. Presumably, with you being sat in 18th in Sky Bet League One, you've probably seen a few of them so far this season, Steve. But gives a bit of an insight into kind of what's gone wrong, shall we say, so far? Because for the outside looking in, I'd like to think that Rotherham will be a little bit higher than 18th in the third tier of English football. Presumably, you feel the same way, Steve.
You would have thought as well after the start to the season that you had that you would have been higher up the table by now, because it wasn't all bad to start off with, was it?
Well, it's not been all bad. You got to kind of put it in context. We've had 3 really rough years. Starting in the Championship, and we fell like a stone out of the Championship. We've had God knows how many managers. We had Steve Evans' return last year, where basically he spent a load of money on older, experienced players who just didn't cut it, hence why he got sacked around March, April time. And Matt Hamshaw, the current incumbent, came in, and one of his first games was the one at your stadium where we frustrated the hell out of you and snuck a 1-0. Well, I mean, it could have been, 6-1 to you, but our keeper had a great game. A lot of our defenders played really well. So during the summer, we got rid of umpteen players and brought in newer, younger, hungrier players. And the problem we've kind of had since the beginning of the season is them gelling, first of all, and the fact that we've had a horrendous run of injuries. I mean, most clubs do, but we've had a lot of injuries at wrong times. I mean, our main strike, we've only really got 2 strikers, and that's Jordan Hugo, who doesn't score goals, and Sam Nombe, who does. And Sam Nombe's had 2 spells out with injury. He must have only played about 6 or 7 games. So we started okay. Yeah, we won on the first day against Port Vale, but who hasn't beaten Port Vale? And it then was a much of a muchness until we managed to go on a 9-game, or was it 10-game, can't remember, unbeaten spell, which ended abruptly a fortnight ago at home to Blackpool. We drew 5 of the games, but we were very solid. And we had lots of injuries. We were playing with a makeshift defence who seemed to gel together. We weren't really scoring that many goals. And then, was it 2 weeks? 2 weeks ago, we played Blackpool at home. We played really all right, actually, but we made 3 mistakes and ended up losing the game 3-0. Then we went to Plymouth, who have barely troubled scored us all season, and we lost 1-0 when we should not have lost 1-0. And then Saturday was appalling. I don't know what he'd done to me. It's like he'd put a tranquilizer in all of their teas because there was no energy and no drive. And Huddersfield found themselves 3-0 up by, 40 minutes. And for once in my life, I left the game at 85 minutes, which, to my utter shame, I don't do very often. But I had my big lad there, and he just said, why are we sitting here watching this stuff for? We're not going to get anything out of it. And then we left, and of course we scored. So the season has been up and down, and Saturday's game has provoked quite a reaction amongst the people, some of the fans who've been waiting to get on the chairman's back and all this kind of stuff. So it's been quite unpleasant in the last few days.
Just touching upon Sam Nombe, which is a name that often kind of stands out to a lot of kind of opposition fans. You mentioned that he'd not played a lot of football, yet he's your top goal scorer with 4 goals this season. Clearly that's an issue for you, scoring goals. Is his injury record probably the reason why he's not managed to get a move elsewhere? And kind of how vital is he to kind of you guys?
Well, he wasn't injured last year, but he's just had 2 and 4. He did his hamstring in September. Then he came back, took him 6 weeks, came back. They managed him back in, so they played him sort of half an hour, 45 minutes, then full on, and then he did his quads. And he appeared on Saturday for the first time since then. That's another 4 weeks, I think. And he played half an hour. So whether he starts against you guys is dependent on our medical staff, I think. What I think he'll do is he'll start on the bench, but we might be so desperate that he risks him. It all depends. But yeah, he's had some bad luck with injuries, and quite a lot of fans are actually pointing the finger at the way that they're trained and all this kind of stuff. And you just don't know, do you?
No, not at all. Speaking of fans, one of the common questions that people like to ask these days is on attendances and kind of how many other teams bring in. Josh has asked, how many will Rotherham be bringing to the Tough Sheet on Saturday? Any ideas?
Oh, God. Normally, I've been to your stadium on a Boxing Day about 6-7 years ago, and we were 1,500 to 2,000, I think, because it's a relatively easy relatively easy trip from Rotherham. I mean, I live in Derby, so it's a bit further. I don't know. If we take 1,000, I think we'll have done very well given the current form that we're showing. Attendances at home are down a bit. We don't get big crowds. I mean, you guys get in the teen thousands, don't you? If we're doing sort of 8,000 Rotherham fans, 8.5 Rotherham fans, that's quite normal, but we're down to 7s now.
Yeah.
People are getting a bit fed up and a bit, bored. I'm in my 60s. I've been going since 1968, and up until the last 2 or 3 years, I used to go home and away. And now, I mean, part of it's age, and I can't be bothered, and it's easy to watch it on the telly now. But yeah, there's been nothing there to really pull me off the sofa.
Yeah, sorry, Steve. I was going to say I'd seen on social media quite a few Rotherham fans kind of calling for a change in the boardroom. Is that kind of contributing towards kind of the deterioration of your kind of support?
I honestly don't know. I mean, it's part of it. I mean, the fact is that we don't win very often and we don't score many goals. So it's not exciting. We've had 2 or 3 really good games where I've thought, yeah, I've enjoyed this. This makes a change. But last season and the season before, the season under Evans, and the season before that, when we plummeted out the Championship, I used to sit there and we'd concede, and I just turn to my brother and say, "That's it, we lost this game." And it might have been 35 minutes or 20 minutes, because there was never a chance that we were going to score. So it's been really difficult the last 2 or 3 years to keep your enthusiasm going. And frankly, I'm surprised that we still get over 7,000 at home for the games. The chairman is under pressure, but there's a kind of a history to it. We nearly went out of business in 2008. I was part of the trust that met the administrator, and frankly, we were surprised that we survived, because he said he was about to lock the gates if it hadn't been a football club. So he's been there. He did actually rescue the club, Tony Stewart. He took it to Don Valley for 4 years. Then he had the stadium built. And frankly, it's been the best period. We've been to Wembley 3 times. We've had 4 promotions. We never had that. I watched from 68 to the mid-noughties. It was just a barren of nonsense,
I think the stadium, I've been to the New York several times, and I think that's something that you can certainly be proud of as Rotherham United fans. It's a nice, tidy little stadium. It's done a lot of good for you, clearly, as much as anything else.
And the move is dictated by what happens on the pitch. And we do have some good players, don't get me wrong. And when we do play football, and we're allowed to play football, we've stopped hoofing it as far as possible. We started hoofing it again against Huddersfield, and it goes nowhere because it just kept coming back. But we've got some good players, and when they do gel, and when we don't have loads of players injured, I think we'll do all right. If we finish mid-table this season, I'll be quite happy and see progression in the performances. But you're going to hit us right in the middle of a really pretty poor couple of weeks.
Yeah, no. Well, we obviously on the back of a unfortunate defeat at Wycombe Wanderers on Saturday, and a lot of Bolton fans are obviously looking for a reaction. So hopefully we'll get that. Our resident stat man has dissected the Rotherham game on Boxing Day as best as he can. It'll be interesting to get Steve's thoughts. Obviously, as an opposition fan, once Cal has done his usual stat man presentation.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Guess That On with the Statman and a Merry Christmas Eve, if you will. But let's get on to the football, shall we? Let's get away from all that. We're here for football, aren't we? So let's get on to the football. I've heard lots of people complaining about no Boxing Day football. But if I'm not mistaken, there's a cracking game. Bolton versus Rotherham at the Tough Sheets. And yes, this should be interesting. Let's put it that way. Because Rotherham currently sit 18th in League One after not 2 games played. Why have I written that? 21 games played, sorry. And today, I'm going to provide some hope for Bolton fans. Some much needed hope out of that. But let's get into it, shall we? Rotherham are much better at home than they are away from home. So there's one positive already. They've played 11 at home this season and 10 games away from home. 16 points at home and just 8 away from home. Now they have played 1 more game at home than they have away. But still, that's not the greatest record, is it? And of course, the game is at Bolton, so this should be a big positive for yourselves. But let's take a look at how they actually play, shall we? Let's move on from that. How they actually play. They tend to set up in a bit of a 3-4-3 formation. It was a 3-5-2 just the other day against Plymouth. But, to be fair, whatever sort of formation they play, it's quite fluid. Because one of the central midfielders, normally Dan Gore, who's on loan from Manchester United, so I obviously know a bit about him. And he is a quality player. Struggled with injuries over the last couple of years, but he is quite good. Anyway, I digress. One of the central midfielders, not always him, but usually it is, drops a bit deeper to pick up the ball and spray it wide, or just carry the ball through dribbling, because Dan Gore's dribbling is quite good. That is something to note. But and then the wide forwards, they drift inside and make it a very narrow front three, as you can sort of see on your screen here. This is more what it looks like throughout the course of the game. But to be fair, they don't tend to have long stints of possession, so you probably won't see that too much because, yeah, they don't really look for they don't love the ball, which is, of course, quite opposite to yourselves. They rank 20th in League One for average possession so far this season with just 45.2%. They rank 20th in League One for accurate passes per 90 with 218.6 per 90 with a success rate of 68.5%. And I know that's a lot of stats that I've just chucked at you there, but basically they don't really like the ball. They tend to play quite quick, but that doesn't mean that they always go for the long ball because they're only 15th in the League One for long balls per 90 with just 22.9 a game. Now I know that does sound like quite a lot, but teams love a long ball in League One. I can tell you that for free. And it's the same story with crossing, to be fair. They don't always look for the cross. They've only made an average of 4 per game, which again is 20th in League One. So you may be thinking, and I can tell you for free I was, how on earth did he score any goals? Right? And to be fair, the goal scoring in recent weeks has not been the best. With the last game, they got beat 3-1, and their only goal came in the 95th minute. But they're not bad from set pieces. They've scored 5 official set piece goals this season, and that doesn't count the phase after the set piece. And so, yeah, set pieces are definitely one to watch out for, especially Sam Nombe from set pieces. He's their top scorer this season with 4 goals. And 2 of those goals came from set pieces, both inside the 6-yard box. One was a header and one was with his right foot. And his 2 other goals have both come from just inside the box, but quite far out, with his right foot, aiming to the left-hand side of the goal. And I'm aware that's quite a lot of information. We're bringing some new stats here. We're bringing some new stats. I'm not quite sure I've found any of these, or I've not seen them before. But anyway, we might as well use them, haven't we? But yeah, from open play, they're not the greatest, which again is another big positive for yourselves. But let's look at their defensive record. And again, this is going to be even better. They've conceded the 3rd most expected goals with 31.5. And I know we don't all like XG, but it's quite important and we'll get onto it in a second. They've only actually conceded 27. And you may be thinking, Statman, why on earth does the XG matter if they've only conceded 27? They should have conceded 4 more. And that is because their goalkeeper makes 3.1 saves per game, the 2nd most in League One. And hopefully on the screen, you're going to be able to see his shot map from the season. This is from FotMob. And to be fair, you can't actually take too much away from that, apart from the fact that he just makes a lot of saves. However, I have noticed a little gap. He seems to struggle with the bottom right corner. There's a lot of saves everywhere in the goal, apart from the bottom right, and there's about 4 goals there. So maybe, aim there. Just maybe. Not always, of course, but still. They also rank 2nd lowest in League One for clearances per 90. So that tells you, get it in the box. Play Sam Dolby and let him stay in the box. Don't make him drop off, hold the ball and then spray it wide. Just let him stay in the middle. Play to his strengths. And how do you do that? You put it in the box, because they don't like that either. I want to see Conway and Christie at fullback. Now, I know Conway didn't have his best game last time out, but I'd be picking him for his attacking qualities nonetheless. And I want to see them both bombing on at the same time, to be completely honest. Putting crosses in the box with their strongest foot, obviously. Let the wingers cut inside, maybe, and get even more numbers in the box, because if Dolby doesn't win the first header, or it's bouncing around in the box, if there's more people in there, there's more chance of a goal happening. And can they get it clear? No, they cannot. So, key takeaways. They're not great. My bad. But, yeah, from open play, they're not the best, attackingly or defensively. And they struggle to get the lines clear. So, put it in the box. All right? Thank you. I'll let you enjoy the rest of the podcast. And once again, Merry Christmas from the Statman. Hopefully, I'll see you very soon. Goodbye.
Thank you, as ever, Mr. Statman. Very informative. I'm growing. I'm getting used to these stats. I'm not going to lie. I find myself more and more on FotMob, which I know is his go-to website. There are other statistical websites available, of course. There was a reference to your goalkeeper, Steve, before we get into kind of what the Statman said in kind of finer detail with you, but he referenced Cameron Dawson being quite an important player for yourselves. You'll have to correct me. I'm presuming that was the same goalkeeper that you had in the net last season, who obviously played at his skin.
Yeah. All our stats were probably worse in that game last season, and we still won it. So, you never know. Yeah, it was Cameron. It was Cameron Dawson. Yeah, and funnily enough, he does get some stick sometimes about he's a bit slow off his line, this sort of thing, and Statman did notice that sometimes he doesn't quite get down quick enough, but he's a very good shot stopper generally.
Yeah. And what about the overall kind of statistical analysis of Rotherham United? If I just pick up on anything of any note, Steve?
Well, fundamentally, we're going to lose, aren't we? According to that, I mean, we're going to lose. I mean, when I were a lad, internet hadn't been invented, so you can pull out all these stats. I mean, XG. I mean, what the hell is that? I know I'm an old bloke, but what the hell is it?
Well, I'm 38. I'm 38, Steve, and I'm still getting on board with it, mate. So you've no all my friends.
I'm 64, so I'm not even going to bother with that.
I won't bother.
Some of the things he says, he's absolutely right. I mean, one of the things that I always irritates me is that we don't look after the ball properly. I mean, he mentioned Dan Gore. Dan Gore's a beautiful footballer, and I love him to bits. He's the best. They say never fall in love with a lone player, but I'm smitten. I just want him to stay. I want to get to the end of January, and he's still there. There's one player we haven't mentioned, is Kian Spence. We got him from Barrow in the summer, and he's really good. But fortunately for you guys, he got himself injured because him and Gore used to rat the midfield, and we used to win during that good spell we had. We used to win a lot of second balls, which all right, we didn't do great with sometimes, but he's going to be missing. And we played Liam Kelly on Saturday, who's in his mid-30s. He's the guy from Coventry, if you remember. He's been a really good footballer during his time, but his legs seem to have, he's not as quick and as mobile. And one of the players we're missing at the moment again because he's injured is Josh Benson. The only reason we got Josh Benson is because he played at Barnsley last season, but he didn't play because he was injured, and they let him go. And we picked him up and tried to keep him fit. He's brilliant at free. He scored 2 direct free kicks already, and he scored at Salford in the Virtue from just inside their half. So we're missing him because he links things up a bit. So I mean, quite a lot of those stats I kind of get. We don't look after the ball well enough. We don't have a huge amount of possession. But during the unbeaten run, I mean, we had 30% possession at Luton and got a point because we just frustrated them.
Yeah.
So what you'll probably find is that we've got a couple of defenders back, and we've got a young lad called Hamish Douglas who came on as substitute at your gaff last year as a midfielder. When we got to the point where we had no central defenders, they brought him in as a central defender in the middle of a 3, and he had Reece James and Rafferty, who are 2 experienced guys either side of him, and that little combination remained the same, and we were solid. But unfortunately, Reece is injured. He's got a broken cheekbone. Whether he has a mask on Saturday, I don't know. Rafferty had a bad game on Tuesday, but he also, Hampshire also swapped Douglas out for Thomas Holmes, who we got on loan from Luton. Used to be at Reading. So that was a mistake. So I think he'll probably go back to Douglas in a back 3. We just need to be solid at the back again. Whether we score a goal is a big question mark. Well,
that segued perfectly into what I was going to ask you there. A lot of Bolton fans will be kind of wondering how the infamous Keon Atete is getting on at Rotherham United. Do you mind, whilst talking about players, before we move on to the next segment, give us a bit of insight into how he's getting on?
Yeah, I know you guys didn't like him at all, did you? He came to us in August, and he came on as a sub, and his legs wouldn't move. It was quite bizarre. But then he twinned up with a guy called Martin Sharif. We got on loan from. He's a big prospect at Everton. He's 20, and them 2 worked together for a couple of 3 games until both of them got injured. Sharif, I don't think we'll see again because he's done his hamstring twice. But Atete came back for 10 minutes on Saturday. He's been injured again for 2 months. So he's not fit. I don't expect him to start. He'll probably be on the bench. But in terms of what I saw for a handful of games, I thought he was very handy. He did play well up front for us. But there again, anything that looks as though we might score a goal is better than not looking at all like we're going to score a goal, which happens with Hugo up front. Don't get me wrong, Hugo works hard, but he's never going to score.
Yeah. Next segment is the injury update. I know you give us a bit of an insight into kind of where you guys are at already, Steve, but we'll give you a bit of a lowdown as well. But if you wouldn't mind having to think about your current situation, that'd be really appreciated. Very mindful of the fact that Ben has just sat there not saying a great deal tonight, so I'm going to be, as the host, kind to Ben and pass this one over to Ben, although it is going to be quite a short segment for Ben to elaborate on. Ben, over to you as far as the Wanderers are concerned. So much so that he's left himself muted because he's not said anything so far tonight.
Classic. In terms of team news for the Wanderers then, Josh Sheen was feeling unwell at Wickham, but he's ready to go again on Boxing Day, and McAtee is the only one who's not available for selection. So we're more or less full strength into Rotherham with nothing too different from last weekend. It is a very, very busy period for the Whites. So making changes and being able to retain that quality and performance levels gives us a better chance to win in what is a really congested fixture period. In terms of transfer speculation, obviously the rumour mill is already in full swing. Lots of you will have seen that Aaron Morley has been floated around as a possible transfer candidate for a couple of teams. Schumacher has not put that rumour to bed, but certainly given his say on it and said that he wants Aaron Morley to remain as a Bolton Wanderers player and doesn't want him to go anywhere. So yeah, in terms of team news there, that's where we're up to. And
Cozy Dewberry hasn't pulled a fetlock or anything, unfortunately.
No, he's very much up for selection.
That's very, very, that's a shame.
Yeah, although just to kind of make you feel a little bit more comfortable about that situation, Steve, he's not been pulling up trees in recent weeks. He's gone a little bit on the quiet side, but that would indicate that he's due a game.
He scored against us in the Virtue, didn't he? Did he score against us? Yeah,
I can't remember. I must admit that competition. I tried to remove it from my memory. In all fairness,
we're still in it.
As are we. Yeah, of course.
But anyway, not to worry.
What about yourselves then, Steve? I know you've touched upon injuries already, but are you looking?
Let me think. We've got, as I mentioned, Nombe did half an hour on Saturday, so he technically, unless something's happening in the week, he's technically fit. Whether he'll start or not is another matter because they won't give him a full 90 minutes. Etete, your favourite player, he's on the bench. He came on for 10 minutes, so he might figure. We're missing Kean Spence in midfield, as I mentioned before, which is a real shame. Centre-back wise, Jules came back on Saturday for half a game. I think he might figure at left wing back, and it depends on Reece James as to what the back three will be. We've still got another couple of centre backs out, and one of them's a young lad we got from Celtic who looked really promising, and Lenny Agbaye, and he's been out for 3 months, and he's again another one for the future. But in terms of what you're going to come up against, again, half of them are going to be just back from injury, so they're not going to be at full tilt. There'll be some that are tired because they've been playing all the time. Hugo will be one. And a lot of how we play comes from Dangor, as you mentioned earlier on. So if Dangor has a good game and he's supported in the middle by Powell probably, or Yearwood might play, we might actually get the ball for 10 minutes.
Often thinking back to yesteryear, there was always situations where when we were stretched going into games that we on paper found quite difficult, games could be written off where you think that you've not really much chance. Looking at your fixture list, it's not really too kind to you over the festive period, is it? Obviously, you got ourselves on Boxing Day. You then travel away to Blackpool, which obviously they're trying to turn somewhat of a corner. Never an easy place to go, regardless of the current situation. And then, of course, you play Peterborough on the 1st of January. That's at home, and obviously they're turning the corner a little bit, aren't they? So I was going to say, would you kind of write it off, thinking you might have some more attractive fixtures coming up, but it doesn't really look that way, does it, Steve? Really,
we can't afford to write anything off. We're a point above the relegation zone, and with what's happening with some of the fans now chipping at the chairman, we need to get as many points out of these games as we can. And believe you me, when we play well, we are a match for anybody. Joking aside, I mean, we took Lincoln apart 3-0 only about 4 or 5 weeks ago at home. And you think to yourself, and then quite a few of the players in that match got injured, and we lost the players again. So we've not had a run where we've got the proper team out that had started to gel. So I honestly don't know what's going to happen on Boxing Day. I wouldn't put it past us to win. Equally, I wouldn't put it past us to capitulate like we did on Saturday. It's that mysterious. But we are capable, if we have the right attitude and the right fitness, we can give you a real good game.
Yeah, I mean, I have no doubt about that. We are going to push you for a prediction, though, because we have got a prediction segment coming up, which is what's the score. So you're going to have to tell us what you think, Steve. We'll give you some thinking time, though, Steve. I'll start, and then we'll go with Ben, and then finish off on yourself. I think that as far as Wanderers are concerned, naturally, it is a must-win game. Every game in the division is must-win, but especially when you've just been beaten 2-1 away at Wycombe. I do expect a reaction. We often do react when we've, lost a game. I don't think it'll be anything extreme. I'm going to go for a 2-0 as per Ian's prediction. Right on cue on the screen. Ben, what about you, pal?
This is an interesting one. For those of you who are big fans of the Fan Zone podcast and have kept an eye on our socials, you will have seen that today we put out a graphic about our unbeaten home record, which has now extended itself to 10 games, which I think at any level of football is seriously impressive, and we've seemed to have made the tough sheet a little bit of a fortress this season, and that needs to continue. A, whilst our away performances leave a little bit to be desired, but B, if we are really serious about heading for automatic promotion. I think the inconsistencies have really hammered us when we've been away from home, but that we found our rhythm at home. And for that reason, I think we're gonna go into this game knowing what we're capable of, and I'm gonna go for a 2-0 Wanderers win.
Steve, over to you, pal.
Well, but given that we barely won away for 3 years, apart from winning at yours last year, we hadn't actually won for 2 years until earlier that season, when we beat Cambridge with one-off non-based backside in the 93rd minute. I can't predict a Rotherham win, but I am going to predict, because I haven't done my New York Talk one yet, 1-1. There you go. I'm going to frustrate the hell out of you, probably nick a goal, and then you'll equalise in the last 5 minutes.
Sounds familiar.
I think it does. I was going to say if there is a textbook definition of a Wanderers game, it seems to be if we're going to not get 3 points, that is the way that it happens.
But I was just taken aback by somebody predicting 5.
Yeah, that's
as was I.
Yeah,
my eyes popped.
Yeah.
But
sometimes when I'm not hosting, Steve, I am in the chat and I do put them kind of score lines myself. I think a lot of it is in jest, in fairness. But
good. No, I took it in the right way. Don't worry. Again, anything's possible with my team at the minute. Yeah, the way we defended against Blackpool and the way we defended against Huddersfield, anything's possible, particularly if you guys play well, because you're a very good team. You've got some really good players. You've got Osei Tutu as well, who played for us on loan for a bit and scored a goal in the Papa John's Trophy final. 94th minute equaliser to take it to extra time, and then we won.
Yeah, so. he's a talent, Jordy. He does a lot of good work. I think he does frustrate some Bolton fans on occasion with his kind of final ball in the final third. But yeah, I mean, he's got stiff competition for a place, but he always seems to have runs in the side at the same time. So yeah, I mean, personally, I like him. I think he's capable of a top performance, and yeah, he can easily put in that at any point, really. I'm not
sure whether we tried to keep him after that season, but he decided to go to Germany instead. So as far away from Rotherham as you can get.
Yeah, well, I think you may very well see him on Saturday. Saturday, Friday. To be fair, but,
he's a good player. I did like him when he played for us. So he needs to pull a fetlock in the first 5 minutes as well. So I've got my pin dummy in the anthem.
Before we wrap up, can you tell the guys and girls listening where they can find your pod, Steve?
Yeah, it's New York Talk podcast. You'll find it on YouTube. You'll find it on any podcast platform. I think it's on Spotify as well. Not 100% sure, but it's definitely on YouTube and on the podcast platforms.
Excellent. There is a segment that I've completely forgot to raise for some bizarre reason. It's the player swap. So I do apologise. Ben, if you've got that to hand, if you want to play the mid-roll, we'll do that quickly. Because for some reason, I completely bypassed it.
I can
I'll do it. Really do apologise about the reason why I missed that. I have absolutely no idea. I usually have all the segments lined up in a specific order. For some reason, I completely missed a player swap. This is a segment, Steve, just so you're aware, where we pick a player from Rotherham and you pick a player from ourselves. I'll start with Ben. Ben, which Rotherham United player would you like to see in Wanderers starting 11?
Yeah, I think it's funny. We've just spoken about Osei Tutu, and I think this player would be a bit of direct competition for him. Obviously, we've seen Ibi on the left in spells, and a lot of us want to see him come good. But someone who I think is quite a little bit more versatile, has played on both wings. Someone with a bright future ahead of him, by my estimations at least, which aren't founded on very much, in all honesty. But it's Arjani, and I will probably butcher his name, Martha. He's a very young player. He's an international at a young age. Has played with Ajax in the Eredivisie. Went out to Beerschot and has landed himself at Rotherham in the summer this season. So he would be my choice. Nice bit of solid squad strengthening.
And Rotherham United's first representative in the World Cup finals, if he stays fit, for Curaçao.
There we are.
Plays for Curaçao.
He played it in the Dutch setup for quite a while, and then obviously switched his national team and has done pretty well. Played recently as well. You
can keep your hands off him. I was hoping nobody had noticed him, but if you've noticed him, a lot of people are going to have noticed him.
There's a common theme with my player swaps. My biggest concern going into the remainder of the season is our backup goalkeeping options. Obviously, we've mentioned Cameron Dawson already. I would like the thoughts of an experienced backup goalkeeper to Teddy Sharman-Law. Obviously, Cameron Dawson is now 30 years old. He's a pretty decent EFL career. And of course, as we've mentioned already, he seems to pull off a lot of important and big saves and big moments. So that is something that I would like in backup because I do think we're short. I'm not really too convinced with our backup goalkeeper. But yeah, that'll be my option anyway. Cameron Dawson will be my swap. What about Steve? Who would you like from the Wanderers before we wrap up?
Well, I mean, I know he's on loan and I've already mentioned him, but do I need to mention his name? Cozier Dewberry. Yeah, I just like players like him. I mean, we had Ogbenny for 3 years, plucked him from Brentford reserves, and he just was so good. Every time he got the ball, you'd be off your chair. And I think Cozier Dewberry, eventually, from what I've seen, will be that kind of player. They're going to have a dip, aren't they? How old is he? Is he early 20s, 20, something
20.
like that?
Yeah, 20.
Yeah, so he's got a lot of learning to do. As is our Johnny Martha, by the way. He spins himself into, circles too often. He needs to learn to make a decision. So, but they're really good players. Martha, Cozier Dewberry, some exciting talent knocking around.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good to see as well, obviously, the EFL is bringing through top young players to have, no doubt, really good careers. Steve, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on tonight.
No, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been great. I've enjoyed it.
Fantastic. A little bit of a skew whiff at the end by myself. Like I said, I usually have these segments all in a particular order, and I completely missed a player swap, so I do apologise. And I apologise for Ben for asking me to load up the screen as well and kind of throwing him under the bus without sounding too much like Mo Salah. But we got there anyway in the end. Thank you very much for your time this evening. Ben, I think this is your last pod, is it? You want to?
It is, unfortunately. Not forever. You're not getting rid of me that easily, but this will be my last podcast for a little while, just over a month. I'm off gallivanting around Thailand. So unfortunately, Fanzone podcast friends, you won't see me for a little while. I might send in you some post-match reactions from away across the pond.
Yeah, a few ponds, I think, to get over to where you're going.
Get there. You're going the opposite direction.
Yeah, certainly is. But at the same time, obviously, you're going to be left in the not so capable hands of people who don't get the segments in the right order whilst Ben is away. But never mind. It's live podcasting. It's what we do. It's what we do well. We like to think so anyway. There's 61 people listening live tonight so far in the chat. You've been absolute superstars, a lot of you. Have a wonderful Christmas, and we'll see you next one, hopefully, for a 3-point pod.
See you all soon.
Happy Christmas, everybody.
All the best.
Yeah, unreal. Boys